Hello everybody and welcome to my YouTube channel, Art Classes My Way. Just to let you know, I do plan to do the second part to the bracelet video that I have, so hold on to that. I just don't have that much time currently this week to continue on with that, so I'm going to do a bunch of little videos for now until I get to the point where I have the time to complete that. Life of an artist. But despite what you see in front of me here, or in front of you as well, we're not really going to be doing anything necessarily with the bench block, but showing you a couple of little demonstrative pieces. You might hear some loud noises, but what we're actually going to be talking about is metals and wire. Especially for all of you wire weavers out there, or beginning wire weaver people. A lot of these principles can also be applied to metal in general. Now, to start off with, wire comes in gauges, and those, it's G-A-U-G-E, gauges. Now, the higher the number, the 20s, the 30s, the finer and smaller the wire will become. So, for instance, we got this nice little thin wire. You might see this for, like, maybe electrical work, or somebody's doing something with a robot or whatever. This is a nice smaller wire. This is probably a 22. My thing's pretty destroyed, so I'm not really 100% sure what gauge it is. I'll have to get out my gauge tool that's a little plate that you can stick a wire through to find out what size it is if you've happened to lost the paper that tells you. And this is a brass wire. It just appears really dark in my camera, but it is a brass wire. Come on. A lot like what you would see in this piece here. So that's a whole bunch of it, just all coiled around one wire. And then you can have gauges, and then they get pretty big. This one is a 14. It goes, at least the biggest I've seen in most hobby shops is a 16 gauge. And then you have all the sizes in between there. Now, for wire weaving, you're going to need some larger gauges and you're going to need some smaller gauges. I normally recommend that if you're going with a 14, you want to go with 2 gauges, or not 2, 3 gauges smaller than whatever your larger size happens to be. Because your larger wire is going to end up being your foundation wire or your guide wire. And then your smaller wires are going to be your more decorative element. So, for instance, with this piece that I've made, there is a larger wire within all of these weaves. Now, that is the guide wire, the larger one. And then everything else that's wrapped around it, that's the weaving wire, which will be the smaller gauge. So, yeah. Fun stuff. Now, you're pretty much going to want a variety of wires. There's not, from what I've seen, there's no difference between, okay, so can I use 4 gauges smaller than my guide wire? Can I use up to 5 gauges smaller? Yeah, go for it. Normally you just don't want anything that's under 2 gauges or even 1 gauge difference, because then it starts to look like you use the same wire to wrap around another wire. The differences get really subtle and really hard to tell, and you just don't get as awesome of a contrast that way. So, now this, like I said, this is a brass wire. It's pretty hard to find brass wire unless you're ordering it online. So you might have a harder time finding that. I personally enjoy having this with contrast for the copper wire, and even silver wire as well. And it is also a nickel-free wire, so it does not react to people's nickel allergies, which is awesome. That is what I am all about. Now, there are wires out there like this guy. This is actually a copper wire. But, and if there's any way my camera would focus on that, probably not. If you look at the very tip of this wire, it's a little bit warmer in color. Camera. Ooh, camera. micro wire. Nope, it's not going to do it. Okay. If you look at the tip, at least you can see that shine. That's kind of a warm colored shine. So what's going on here, even though this is silver, this is permanently colored copper wire. I really don't understand why they call it permanently colored, because, I mean, some scuffing, some scratching, it looks like copper wire. It's not like the color has been infused down into its basic core. You can, I mean, you can't just take your fingernail and scrape it off, no, but just get a little bit of working in there, get a little bit of wear on it. It turns back to copper pretty quick. So really, I think what they're trying to say with permanently colored is that it's plated. And whatever they're using for plating, so far I have not ran into any issues with nickel allergies. But keep an eye on that. If you yourself have nickel allergies, before you sell your pieces, maybe wear it first, like I do. I will, if I'm not sure about a new brand wire that I have bought myself, I will turn it into an ear wire, replace one of my ear wires and one of my earrings, and wear it for a day, and within a couple hours I'll know whether or not if it's nickel free or not. So definitely just be aware of that. This particular wire that I have is silver plated copper wire, so we're plenty good on that. Now here we have actual silver wire, and 99.9 pure silver plated, nickel free. Always happy to see that. And they have to put, if it's nickel free and it's not, it says nickel free and this is not nickel free, they're going to be in a lot of trouble, this company, so they'll know. And when they put nickel free, that means the entire product within is nickel free. It's not just the plating that's nickel free. That means that the wire beyond the silver plating is also nickel free. That's really important, and that's a really, and it may seem like I'm harping on it, but this is an extremely important thing, especially if you plan to sell your own jewelry, because you got to know what you're making it out of. And if you claim your product is nickel free when it's not, well, then those people can come back after you for health reasons. Nickel allergies can do a lot of things to people. I personally, within a couple of hours of wearing something that does have nickel in it, I start, basically my skin looks like it's rotting around whatever it is I'm wearing. So it looks awful. And the effects for some people can be pretty immediate. But yeah, this is another wire that is out there, nickel free, silver plated. It will wear down and it will wear off over time. But it is another option, and a cheaper option as well, without having to go with a pure silver wire. And of course we have our copper wire, lovely, lovely copper wire. This is my favorite. Now there are people out there with copper allergies. I am not one of those people, thank God. Otherwise I don't know what I'd wear anymore. Probably nothing. I'm too rough on jewelry. But I like making it, and I do like wearing it. I'm just don't have too many places to wear it at. At my forge, I'll wear the most beautiful earrings with diamonds and just sitting there hammering away, black hands and everything. Oh well, I'll shut up. Okay, so copper wire here, and it's pretty typical stuff. Now, a lot of wires that you will see will come in different softness. Now, you will have dead soft, this guy. It's very pliable, very easy to move and bend around for whatever projects you happen to be doing. A lot of wire will come like this. Then you got half hard, and yeah, all you boys out there snickering. Haha, funny joke. But there's half hard wire, which is going to be in between the softest you can get wire and the hardest wire you can get, and then there's hardened wire. And that you're not going to be doing too terribly much to it. It's going to be like right on the verge of, okay, you put it in its shape immediately and it is done. Otherwise, it is going to snap and break. It's going to be super brittle. And if you have a wire that starts off as dead soft and you've worked it and worked it, what I mean by working, you're, for instance, if you've ever done this with a wire until it snaps, well, you're work hardening this bit right here. And by work hardening it, you're just moving it around so much that it gets hard to the point that it becomes brittle and then snaps. That's really what work hardening is, and that's what the hardness levels mean on these wires. Now, if you're working on something and things just aren't going right for you, and you know that wire is just on the verge of breaking, put it over a flame, heat it up. By heating metal, you are expanding a lot of the molecules in it. I may be not being 100% accurate about that, but this is the way I mentally picture it. You're expanding the molecules in it, and it allows it to have more movability, more flexibility, and you're bringing it all the way back to being dead soft again. So then you got more time to work with him before he gets hardened again. Now, when you are talking about hardening, not only bending it and moving it, but every time you do just doing something simple like that, that's technically work hardening it. Not a lot, granted. That's very, very light amount of work hardening. But anytime wire touches anything or comes in impact with anything, the more hardness you're going to get out of it. And again, all you have to do is heat it up over a flame, and then it'll get nice and soft again, so that way you can start playing with it. Don't play with it right after you pull it out of fire. You will burn yourself. It is still metal. It is still going to conduct a lot of heat. And if you're holding it over a flame, you can either do it with a pair of pliers, your tweezers can do it as well, and a variety of other things. Just don't like hold a short piece and I'm gonna put it over the fire. Wow, it's hot. Not smart. Now, if I had like a huge piece like this and I wanted to maybe soften up one of my ends that's way over here, and I've got a hold of this piece all the way at this end as it's open, yeah, okay, yeah, you can get away with that kind of thing. All right, now for the different kinds of wire, why they are important, aside from allergies, your most common wire you're going to run into is going to be copper. Copper's a great wire. It does all kinds of things that you're going to need it to do. Very flexible, great wire to be playing around with. It does get a bit heavy depending on how big the piece you are making and what that piece is for. Obviously, you don't want a pair of earrings that are too terribly heavy. A lot of people wouldn't like that. Personally, I like heavy earrings. But a good alternative to copper wire for something like that you want to have end up being lighter is going to be this lovely aluminum wire, which is this 16 gauge, or the 14. Oh, this is 14. Okay. The 14 gauge I was showing you. This stuff is super, super soft. And if you've never played with the aluminum wire before and you've played with some of the other wire types, it is going to behave the same way. It is going to get into the shapes that you want it to be much, much faster, much easier. The only problem is when you work harden aluminum and you're sitting there and you're bending it or you're playing with it, you're doing whatever it is that you're doing with it, it will break long, long, long before you think it's going to. It's like when you're working with your copper wire here, by the time you make this guy break, this guy is going to break like 3 times before you're ever going to get this. So this guy goes longer. He's got more durability to him. Aluminum, which this is colored aluminum. It's actually white on the inside. It's got a black coating on the outside. Aluminum is, you can't work with it too terribly long. And especially the coating on aluminum, if anybody has ever had a horse trailer, horse trailers don't typically have a whole bunch of paint job on them, and maybe they'll have some decorative bits, and those decorative bits will be vinyl. And I highly suspect maybe that's what this coating is on this, some sort of plastic, really hard plastic. So I wouldn't heat it up for any reason. You don't know what this coating is that's giving it its color. And you don't know what noxious fumes you'll be breathing in after you heat it up. So, yeah, be careful when playing around with this. If you just get straight aluminum, yeah, you could probably heat it up and do stuff with it. I really don't have too much use for regular aluminum. But anyway, so yeah, it will break way before most of your other metals will. It does not have a long working life. And if you pardon the noises that you're probably going to hear here, well, it makes a great guide wire. It's much, much lighter than a great deal of the other metals. The only problem is if you want to fan your metal or you want to hammer your metal, and this is true not just necessarily for aluminum, but any colored metals that you're playing with, you're going to end up with a bit of a problem if you need to hammer it and put it into a shape, and I'll show you why. Please pardon the noise. I am a beginning YouTuber. Alright. And there you have it. So that coating is flaking off, and it will continue to flake off of this entire area. And you can see that was very, very easy to work with. If you've ever hammered wires or metal before, that just went like that. Takes so little effort with aluminum. You'll get a lot more resistance with copper and a few of the others. Keeps you from getting really extreme, so if you go at it a little slower, it's a little bit more workable. This guy, he will go, and it'll be quick and sudden, and you won't realize it, and you might have to redo things a few times. But the problem is, again, the coating. And you're going to have a lot of the same problems with the plated stuff. Anything that isn't its own natural color, yeah, you're going to get this. Now, if you want to play with things that are other colors, you can shape them, and if you have the ways to powder coat or enamel or what have you, there's multiple ways to color metal. Or even, what I suspect, they dip this in some sort of plastic. Maybe you can get a resin and give it some color, dip your metal in it after it's done, and then like hang it up to harden. I'm just spitballing ideas here. I don't know if that would actually work, but that would be a way to color it after you've done all your working with it. So that is what happens to coatings. If it's a great main wire, aluminum, but it doesn't really have too much workability if you're using it with, you bought it with a color in order to use it for that color. So keep that in mind. Any plating, anything that you use that isn't its original color, it's going to do something like that. Okay. And just another little bit of information for you. Wires can come in so many colors, especially the coppers. I mean, literally, they will come in just about every shade of color that you can want. And even if you've ever gone down a paint aisle in a fine arts store and you see like ultramarine blue and your cadmiums and you basically find all those colors in wire. So it's a wonderful thing. Wire is amazing. Metals are amazing. They are so much fun. They are the greatest thing ever, and I just like playing with it. Metals are just great. There's nothing better than slinging around molten metal. Or just hammering it, cold connections, all of it's great. But anyway, those are just a few things to keep in mind when you are selecting your wire. And when you are, any metal, really. And what the different information means on your tags here. Copper wire, permanently colored. Silver plated wire. So it's plated, it's going to end up having the same issue as what we had down here. Yeah. They don't have a lot of information there. But believe me when I tell you, this is a great wire to work with. Brass wire. It's really hard to find unless you order it special from a jewelry website. You're not really going to find this in stores very much. But brass wire is a great wire to work with, and it's nickel free. So, awesome sauce. And maybe a little bit of something else to talk about with everybody. One thing that people don't know when it comes to allergies, for instance, those with copper allergies. There are wires and metals out there now. For instance, rose gold. Rose gold has been made because somebody took copper and mixed it with gold. Now, we used to call these junk metals, but now that they're giving them all these fancy names, like chocolate diamonds, yeah, those used to be things that we all threw away. Now they're giving them a big fancy name and a publicist, pretty much. Now they're like the thing that everybody wants. Rose gold is one of them. Don't be fooled. Anything that says rose gold is got copper in it. That is how they make rose gold. And another thing to keep in mind is that anything that is under 24 karat gold has nickel in it. It has junk metals in it. If it's 14 karat gold, it doesn't matter if it says the word gold. It's got other stuff in it. And that other stuff might be nickel. And it might be copper. It just means that there's a certain percentage of it that is gold. So always keep that in mind. Let's see some of the others. Oh, this is fun. I love this. I had a major allergic reaction because somebody told me that there is German silver wire now. German style silver wire. Well, guess what that means? German style pretty much is like their new way of saying tarnish free. Well, there's only really one metal that is commonly used worldwide that keeps things from tarnishing. Guess what that is? Nickel. You can't see me, but I'm doing jazz hands here. So anything that says tarnish resistant or tarnish free, that has nickel in it. Be aware of what your product is. And if you're not sure, look it up. There's tons of information out there on the internet. And there's also a ton of misleading information as well. So be careful of things that say tarnish resistant or German style silver wire, fancy pants way of saying nickel. I cannot tell you with the allergic reaction I had with that, thinking, well, there's no way this can be it. It's silver. Let's see here. Stainless steel. That's another one. But surgical steel. Now, there's something kind of special about surgical steel. Apparently, I don't have a bad enough allergic reaction to nickel because I can wear things that are called surgical steel. Now, surgical steel, all steel has nickel in it. But surgical steel was made, created, heated to the point where basically all the nickel's on the inside, all the other metals are on the outside, which keeps me from having an allergic reaction and keeps a lot of other people out there from having an allergic reaction to being in contact with it. But there are people out there who have such an extreme allergic reaction to nickel that will even affect them. And I believe I read someplace that a nickel allergy, what's typically happening is that it's the nickel's reacting with the salt in your skin, which is keep trapping moisture and doing all these weird things, but it has something to do with how it's reacting with the salt in your skin, causing it to crystallize, which is causing the reaction. I don't know, it seems like it reacts awful fast sometimes, but and if you know exactly what it is, maybe you can put it in a way that I can actually understand it, because that kind of makes not quite enough sense to me. But anyway, thank you guys very much for watching my video and hanging out with me today. Please like, subscribe, do all that magical stuff that you do. Please let me know in the comments section what you would like to see a class on, what you would like me to talk about or help you guys learn. I am here for you guys, and I love talking art with people. It's so much fun. Right now I'm just talking art to myself in this empty room. But, I pretend that you guys are actually there and I'm not just talking to my camera. Yay! So, yeah, hopefully I'll get to hear from you guys soon. And please come and support me on my Etsy account, Naughty Dog Studios. You can also contact me on Facebook, Naughty Dog Jewelry. And Brownie Bear! I actually had somebody ask me why I call my art studio Naughty Dog, and there's my naughty bear. There's my good baby. Yes, that's the Naughty Dog. You all have a wonderful day, and just look at them blue eyes. Look at them eyes. Here, give a puppy face. Yeah, you're so good bear. How can you resist them eyes? All right, everybody, have a wonderful, wonderful evening, daytime, whatever time of day it happens to be where you're at, and hopefully I will hear from you soon. Have a great one. Bye.